Coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech, MKBHD launches a terrible app. We'll get into what is so bad about it. We now know more about Annapurna's implosion. Ubisoft is crawling back to Steam, and Meta announces a lot that is going to really annoy the Apple Vision division. All that and more coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, North Soyam, good buddy. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech guy. I'm Eagle Falcon. Oh, it's been a week, let me tell you. A lot of things very concerning out there in the world. But here, we're going to focus on tech. That's at least one thing I'm going to do, because while there's actually, as we're recording, there's an ongoing situation involving a chemical lab in Georgia. People are already just injecting their politics into it. And I'm just like, you know, it could in fact just be an accident that happened to a place that was just hit by a major hurricane. I'm just saying, we don't have to immediately assume the lizard people you hate are responsible. It is insane. It is actually insane, the things I see online. I feel like there should be like a required break from being online for like a month. Just be called Touchgrass Timber. I don't know. I'm still working on it. Just like Microsoft is still working on wanting to go ahead and make Windows Recall a thing that is actually still going to come out. And they have gone ahead and put out details about their security and privacy overhaul regarding Windows Recall ahead of its relaunch. All right. Here's what I got to say about this. All right. For those who don't know, Windows Recall is a feature in which the operating system takes rapid succession screenshots of your desktop, saves it in memory, and then gathers useful data on it using generative AI to go ahead and learn more about the way you use your computer to help predictive functions work better. All right. On paper, this seems, you know, like a decent evolution of the computer. It goes ahead, sees how you use the computer, tries to help you use it better. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go right? I mean, first off, there's no secret that I'm not exactly the biggest fan of generative AI. I'm not. I think there's a lot of potential, but I think that the pie needs to go back in the oven a bit longer. That's my first opinion for starters. Second, you want to record everything I do on the computer, store it, send it to a cloud to be processed, and then that data be sent back. Now, they're talking about doing massive overhaul changes to the security, right? They want to go ahead and be able to encrypt this incredibly well, be able to make sure that none of the data ever leaks out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right? This is fine and all. Here's my rebuttal to that. No, absolutely freaking not. I'd use swears, but I really don't want to have to hit my beep button. No. We've seen how Microsoft operates with the way they go ahead and, well, do all kinds of wonderful security-based things that function incredibly well, TM. We see all kinds of ways that Microsoft is just a paragon of security, and there is never a vulnerability found ever. And then on top of all that, there's the security that Microsoft can't control. How many times do I come on this podcast and talk about a hardware vulnerability that bypasses encryption, and it's based on a mainstream processor? All the time. What do I always say? I also say, don't worry about it. Most likely, this vulnerability will not be able to affect you, but you should still patch your systems anyway. with this, any amount of information that bypasses any kind of security could potentially compromise your entire life. No, absolutely freaking not, Microsoft. This feature should not launch. This feature should not relaunch. This feature should be canned. This feature should not see the light of day. And I will tell you this right now, I will switch every single one of my computers before it ever sees this Windows recall feature ever touch that hardware. Period. End of story. No. And I want to stress this again and again and again. This whole thing, yeah, don't worry. We've made it more secure. Whoop-de-doo. I literally come here on a near weekly basis and reveal some new vulnerability that's day zero and can easily bypass just about every single kind of encryption. So no, Microsoft, no. And you know, you don't want to hear me say it either, but I'm going to say it. I would strongly recommend you do the same thing. I would strongly recommend that if your option is either go with a brand new Windows Copilot Plus PC or install Linux. It's time to learn Linux. Time to learn how to game on Proton. Because no, this is not acceptable. This should never be acceptable. And the fact that they expect this nonsense to work in the professional space as well as consumer space is mind-blowing to me at just how absolutely brain dead Microsoft is in regards to security nowadays. Oh, but don't worry, Eagle, it's off by default. No. Still no. Because there's still plenty of times with a vulnerability that, oh, hey, look at that. The feature was turned on without your knowledge. Ooh. You've basically, even if it's off, you have a ticking time bomb in the computer that can just skim everything. You have inactive spyware in the computer with this. Just no. Someone in chat says you're paranoid, old man. All right. I'm going to let you play devil's advocate for a minute, all right? How am I the crazy one? What is the benefit of having this software in there that scans everything you do at every single second, takes a screenshot of it, and sends it to an AI to be processed? What is the benefit of this? The funny thing is just describing what this feature does already sounds like some sort of crazy whack job conspiracy theory. The thing is, that's what they're saying it's gonna do. Microsoft gets free training data. How is that a pro for the consumer? But I try to play devil's advocate. I really do. But man, it is hard for me to look at this thing, this whole feature, and then say, oh yeah, that's worth the risks. Someone in chat says you get free AI tools. To do what? See, like, that's the key thing here, right? And this is the thing I love with, like, AI tools in general. They never give a very good description as to how they help anything. Like, this is just supposed to help your Copilot assistant and help it make better decisions for you. Look, I gotta risk the pros with the cons. The cons is that it takes all the information I ever do with the computer ever and puts it all in one spot that can be hacked, and then it's all going to be, you know, in some malicious actor's hands. And don't tell me that's not going to happen. Don't tell me that, oh, they put in more security That's not going to happen, Eagle. You're being paranoid. Do you not listen to the news weekly? Every week there's a new data breach. Oh, we're not hackable. We'll never, ever we'll never have all of our stuff taken. We'll never get hacked. Word said 1 week before reveal of hack a month ago. Yeah, this whole thing about proof of human presence required to set up recall, secure biometrics to authorize recall access data, anti-hammering and tamper-proof settings prevent feature abuse. I have 2 words that makes all of this security mumbo jumbo that Microsoft's laying down for you irrelevant. Meltdown. I have 2 more. Cash out. Pick any one of the near infinite hardware-based vulnerabilities that bypassed every single bit of encryption that existed on every other piece of hardware, that affected every architecture, not just Intel, not just AMD, but also affected ARM. This feature needs to go into a fire and be burned. I don't care if people say, you sound like a crazy person. You sound like a crazy person. Fine, I guess I sound like a crazy person, but you know what? I'm going to be the crazy person who actually has my data intact. I'm saying it right now. My PCs will run Linux before they have this Microsoft recall feature. Period. End of story. And I'd strongly recommend other people do the exact same. Because it's a feature that just cannot be trusted. By the way, the person in chat that was playing devil's advocate finally said, well, they help the CEO look better, inflate the stock price as investors want. Yeah, enough said there. All right, enough beating up on Microsoft. They've had enough for today. Instead, let's go ahead and beat up on the most wholesome tech YouTuber out there. Let's go rip on MKBHD. So MKBHD really surprised a lot of people, and because the iPhone 16 was such a lackluster phone, he used the opportunity of his iPhone 16 review video to announce the launch of a new app. MKBHD, who is known for reviewing Apple products, has now given us Panels. The Panels app is a wallpaper app that promises that it'll have more features down the road at the low price of $12 a month or $50 a year. Or if you want to stay free and don't want full high quality wallpapers, you can instead watch ads on your wallpaper app. And now this has all brought up a very good debate in the internet community. Is this a ripoff or a scam? And I could go either way on this. So here's the thing, right? You have all these wallpapers. They're designed by artists, allegedly handpicked for you, I'm sorry. And the revenue is shared with the artists 50-50, which actually just kind of seems like robbery compared to the 70-30 that Apple does and gets criticized for. So this gets even worse. Now, someone in chat says it and lets us watch for free with ads or pay. Oh, you're talking about someone to curate TV shows for us. Let us watch for free with ads or pay monthly. Man, that'd be nice. I think that actually exists with Pluto TV, but I digress. But now things get even worse with Panels, because according to MKBHD, this whole thing was actually developed by his team from the ground up. But some people are able to find that it functions very similar to another defunct application. And to prove that they found the application this Panels app was based on, they traced over to the unsecured database where all the wallpaper was stored in full resolution. So here's what I gotta ask. All right. I believe that, in fact, MKBHD did not build this in-house. I believe another company built it for MKBHD and wanted to collaborate and have his face be put onto it and being pushed as his product. I am convinced of this. Whether that's the case or not, time will tell. Just because here's the thing, right? If I see a product from, say, YouTuber Logan Paul, I am going to immediately assume that it is either a scam or a grift, because that's what he does. He is not a good person, and he scams and grifts people. If I see a product from KSI, I am going to immediately assume it is a scam or a grift. Most likely a scam, considering the fact the guy has been involved with Mischief, a company that that deals in selling you loot boxes. If I see a product from Mr. Beast, well, recent history would tell me I should assume that it is a grift of some kind, because recent evidence has pointed me that way. I look at MKBHD, who has, as far as YouTubers go, is very, very clean. But this is a black eye for sure, because this doesn't look good. Trying to charge people $50 a year for wallpapers and maybe more, I don't know, LOL, down the road, it feels weird. Coming from the guy who reviews tech and is brutally honest about it. I mean, man, you want to talk about a way to hurt your brand, this is it right here. And while we're on the topic, what is going on at YouTube? I get that every content creator wants to find new ways to diversify revenue. I look at that here in my own way over here at Twitch, ways to go ahead and make sure this hobby can sustain itself. You know, I get that. You want to go ahead and make sure that you don't put all your eggs in the Twitch basket or the YouTube basket. You want to go ahead and branch out. Maybe you want to go ahead and try to sell some funny t-shirts or some of that nature. But holy cow, it just seems like every single YouTuber out there is trying to launch their very own product or start a new sub company that is just making just very sketchy stuff. It's very bizarre. Are there exceptions out there? Of course there are exceptions out there. But it does seem way more strange lately. Zona Chat says YouTube may not be paying well. Maybe. It's a possibility. It could be ad revenue is drying up significantly. I mean, granted. Well, no. Well, I would say if the YouTubers are like actively making sure that no political ads are played on their channels, yeah, they probably are not seeing a whole lot, because every single business right now is looking at the economy and saying, you know, we might want to pull back on our advertising budget. So that might be affecting ad revenue. Same thing with actual brand deal sponsorships. I'm pretty sure if I go to my little sponsorship tab over here, there is not going to be a whole lot there other than, you know, a whole bunch of mobile ads. What are the odds? A whole bunch of mobile ads. A whole bunch of scammy mobile ads on top of that. It just feels strange, you know? And I wonder if these creators realize how much this is hurting their brand. Because like I said, before this, MKBHD was nearly spotless. The most controversy he had before was ending the career of AI programs or AI companies because he said their product was terrible. Lo and behold, their product was in fact terrible. Shocker, I know. So for now, all we can do, wait and see how this goes out. But these YouTubers probably want to go ahead and find another solution to their monetary woes. Or perhaps they want to go ahead and just save up a lot of money because they are foreseeing something concerning. For example, this MSI power supply that boasts two 12-volt high power connectors. So for those who don't know, the newer NVIDIA cards use one 12-volt high power connector. All right. And this 12-volt high power connector is capable of pushing close to 600 watts. But here's the problem. When you get close to the limit, people have been reporting that the connectors have been melting. So now here's the question. Is MSI pushing out this version with two because they want people to split the load between two connectors so there's less of a chance of melting? Or is it the fact that they know something we don't? That the next generation NVIDIA cards might require two high power 12-volt connectors. A bit concerning, isn't it? Well, according to rumors, it is in fact the latter. Rumored reports of the RTX 5090 and 5080 2 cards that will make your wallet hide in terror are rumored to pull up to 600 watts. To put that in perspective, the 4090 pulled 450 watts max, unless you overclocked it. 600 watts would be at the upper end of what 12-volt high power could offer, meaning for safety, you would do 2 12-volt high powers to be on the safe side. Rumors also show that the 5090 will have 32 gigabytes of RAM. 5080 is going to have 16 gigabytes of VRAM, which unfortunately matches what the 4080 had, which means that most likely NVIDIA is trying to push you towards the higher end if you're in that market. Because more VRAM, of course, means you can handle more resolution. I'm not going to lie. If the rumors are true in regards to the VRAM amount, I'm going to be disappointed. I really am. Because when you start getting to 1440p and 4K, you can very easily saturate 16 gigabytes of RAM when you crank up all the settings. And a 5080 should, on paper, be able to do that. So we have NVIDIA going ahead, selling cards that cost your left nut, or in the case of the 5090, both nuts, in order to buy, and potentially only the one that costs both your nuts has a prayer of operating at its full capacity without being hindered by VRAM. Oh boy. That's just fantastic, isn't it? But again, these are rumored specs. We don't know for certain. And quite frankly, in that regard, it's better off to just go ahead and just take a deep breath, wait, and see. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, I have some gaming news, including God of War Ragnarok being review bombed on PC, as well as a look into what happened to Annapurna. You don't want to miss this stuff. We'll be back. Welcome back, you guys on tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. All right, let's get to a little bit of gaming news, shall we? First off, God of War Ragnarok has come to the PC, and you'll never guess what happened. I mean, you will guess because I told you earlier, but you'll never guess why. I'm kidding. You'll know exactly why. God of War Ragnarok is being review bombed. Why would that be? Those of you who remember Helldivers 2 could probably guess why. Yeah, it is in fact because of the requirement to register a PSN account. Honestly, like, as someone in chat said, because there's no boy in it. Yeah, nailed it first try. I'm not gonna lie, I find it kind of weird that of all the companies to like get mad at for this, it does feel like it's exclusively Sony, or maybe Sony's just the only one getting reported on because of the backlash they had with how badly they handled Helldivers. But like, we've done this before with many other developers, mostly begrudgingly, granted. So it's like, what about Sony makes it so that we just are violently saying no? Like, I don't get it. Granted, I do agree with it. I don't think a PSN should be absolutely, I don't think a PSN account should be required to go play something on my PC. I think that is silly. Just like I don't think I should be signing up for, you know, EA's, what is it called? I literally can't remember what it was called. Epic, I think it actually was called. I don't think I should be signing up for Epic to go ahead and you use their service. I think that is silly. I don't think I should be using Ubisoft's either. What was they called? Uplay, I think. And Bethesda's. Whoo! I can't remember if I had I'm now that I think about it, I was about to say there was one time where it was an entire issue on stream trying to get a Bethesda launcher to work, that we could almost make a montage out of it. But I think that was actually Bethesda. It was Origin for EA games, not All right. It was Origin. That's right. Thank you for the correction, chat. Like, those sort of things exist. No one's happy about it, but no one raises nearly as big a stink as they do for Sony. So why? I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't. What is about Sony's that rubs everyone the wrong way? Here's what I'll say. I'm not a Sony fanboy by any stretch of the imagination. No. But I feel like if we're gonna go ahead and blast Sony for this, we should blast all the other ones for it too. Someone asked, is Sony being greedy? I mean, they are, but so is Ubisoft, so is EA, so is Bethesda. Like, they're all like various levels of being greedy in one way or another. So why is just Sony? In the end, I think it is just getting the most attention because of Helldivers. That's just my opinion. Someone in chat says ultimately everyone who requires gamers to do anything they don't want to but play games should get this equally. I agree. I do agree. The last thing I want to do is just go ahead and spend 30 godforsaken minutes setting up the ability to play a game on my PC. But it is what it is. Sony is once again getting flack for it. Hopefully they will learn from this. Someone in chat says EA has enough goodwill. EA goodwill. Man, that's a good joke. It needs a little work on the punchline, but that's a very good joke. Very good joke. But if they were being serious, no. EA is still crawling out of a crater of negative goodwill they have dug. Speaking of craters that were dug, I want to talk about Annapurna. What is Annapurna? Well, Annapurna, you probably don't recognize the name. If you do, congrats. You're a nerd. You can take that whether it's good or bad. But Annapurna hit the news a bit ago, and I forgot to cover it. It's my bad. There was a lot of stuff going on. Because their entire staff walked out on them. So, what do they do and why should we care? Well, in most recent history, Annapurna is well known for making the game Stray. This was an adventure game where you played as a cat, and they put in a lot of love and detail into it, including actually putting a cat into a motion capture suit to make sure that the animations for the in-game cat were as realistic as possible. Which, I'm not gonna lie, that's a huge step. That's a pretty big step up, not gonna lie there. So, why did everyone walk out? Well, in the end, like a lot of these sort of problems, it comes down to leadership. Annapurna, much to my little bit of information, because I'm not a nerd, actually has multiple divisions, one of which is, first off, Annapurna Interactive, the one that actually does the games, as well as Annapurna, I actually want to make sure I got the actual term right, Annapurna Pictures, which is in fact a film producer. In fact, the company was founded to make films back in 2011. Annapurna Interactive was then spun off in 2016 to go ahead and make games, and included a lot of various veterans, such as a Sony creative director and a Sony executive producer. So the film side of Annapurna's business has been fine-ish for a while, but it started looking a bit grim. So they started leaning more on Annapurna Interactive. The game studio, of course, just wants to go ahead and just make games. They're passionate about games. They want to make games. They want to do it at their own pace so they can go ahead and put out gems like Stray. What it's sounding like, what we're hearing now, is that, in fact, the pictures division that is suffering because the entire movie industry is kind of suffering ever since this this crazy year called 2020. I don't know, apparently something big happened then. I think it had to do with a cold. I don't know. complicated stuff there. But because of the events of 2020, the pictures and film side of things suffered even more. So the video games industry side of things was being pressured more. And apparently, whatever was said was enough, and the pressure was building up enough that everyone in the video game industry side of things left. They walked. Now you have a video game Stray, people who are interested in Stray, wondering, hey, is there ever going to be a sequel of this? And the answer, unfortunately for them, is no. There will never be a sequel. Ever. So what do? Well, it's hard to say at this point. Will the studio just try to hire on more people? Will Annapurna just shut down entirely and be sold off in bits and pieces to other people? Right now, it's kind of hard to say. I do hope those that were involved in the studio that clearly have passion do go ahead and get that fine work elsewhere. For now, though, all we can do is wait and see how things go. Meanwhile, let's turn our attention to another game studio that is in trouble. I don't know. There's this small little indie studio. I'm sure you've heard of them, called Ubisoft. All right. Small little guys, don't really do a whole lot, but are definitely some guys with some strong heads on their shoulders. Is this the part where I have to tell you that everything I just said is a complete lie? Yeah, things are looking even worse at Ubisoft somehow. As their next Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed Shadows, drums up even more cultural controversy somehow. They are realizing that maybe they should take a step back from all this. And then, in fact, the people they hired on to go ahead and do research for the historical accuracy for their game did a really bad job. Their most recent controversy involved promotional material involving a one-legged Tory gate. I believe that's actually the correct pronunciation. If it's not, I'm sorry. In Japan, there is a very well-known one-legged Tory gate. The reason is it's well-known is because it was reduced to only being half there after the dropping of the atomic bomb. It is a cultural symbol of resilience of the Japanese people that in the face of the most devastating weapon ever brought by man, that they will stand tall. And Ubisoft tried to use this symbol to promote a video game. Slow freaking clap. So after Ubisoft was caught being the most tone-deaf idiots of the month, they have decided that they are going to delay Assassin's Creed Shadow, I believe for the second time, all the way to February 14th of 2025. No, I have not checked to see if February 14th of 2025 is any kind of day of historical importance to Japan. I don't think it is. But you know, at the way Ubisoft is just scoring high points in trying to offend the Japanese culture, it would not surprise me at all. Someone in chat said February 25th. It is February 14th, 1-4 of the year 2025. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear enough about that. That's my bad. One of the problems of doing an impromptu show. Yes, it is being Chad asked if it's being so Valentine's Day. Yes, it is launching on Valentine's Day next year. I don't know if that holds any other meaning or anything of that nature. I just gotta say, Ubisoft, what's wrong with you? I gotta ask, you know? I have never seen someone swing so many losses back to back to back, but by God, they continue to do it. And in fact, the investors want to know how the heck Ubisoft continues to fail again and again and again. And granted, Ubisoft is clearly making moves to change this, which now brings us to the title of today's episode: Do Nothing, keep winning. Ubisoft has made the immediate decision that all of their games are going to be available on Steam again, and new releases are going to be available on Steam, which points us back at Valve, who continues to do nothing and keep winning. It's kind of funny how Steam continues to just stay in their holding pattern, right? They don't do much. They're just like, yeah, you want to sell video games on us? Yeah, go for it. Here's the terms. We'll even go ahead and I'll let you generate keys for free and all that stuff. It's not like the rules to get into Steam are, you know, incredibly difficult. But by God, Steam continues to again and again and again do nothing and continue winning. Someone in chat asked, do you need Uplay to play? I have no idea. They have not made that clear yet. But it does mean that the exclusivity deal that Ubisoft had with Epic Games is over. Because apparently that was a thing that existed. I'm not going to lie. Ubisoft games have been kind of dead to me. Like, they have just not put out much that really has interested me, like, at all. I had no idea they had an exclusivity deal with Epic Games, of all things. I know I need to play I know I need to register Uplay with something. What was it? I actually now can't remember. There was something I had to register Uplay with. Part of me makes me think they're just going to go ahead and say that you will need Uplay, but I mean, we don't know for certain yet. Man, I am drawing a complete blank. There was definitely something in my library that required, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. Oh, someone in chat said the only Ubisoft games they've played South Park. That actually might be it. It actually might be the South Park games. That could very well be it. Let me actually see if South Park still requires Uplay or not. I don't see a whole lot that gives me information otherwise, but there are a lot of very funny mods for it. All right, anyway, that's enough distractions. Also, because someone said it earlier, when I said Steam continues to do nothing and keeps winning, they said, but making the Steam Deck is something. Do you honestly believe that the Steam Deck helped increase the number of users on Steam? No. No, it didn't. I guarantee you 100% of the people who have a Steam Deck used Steam before. Now, did the Steam Deck go ahead and generate more sales for Steam? Yes, it most likely did. Zona chat said increased accessibility. They'd say it did, but it was probably negligible. It keeps the... No, it doesn't. No. All right. I'm willing to believe a lot of things. I am not willing to believe there's a user out there that's like, man, I really like my gaming PC, but you know, because there isn't a handheld portable, I'm just going to switch to console gaming for life. No. Someone in chat says they know 2 people who have signed on to Steam for the first time once they had their Steam Deck. Congratulations, you found the only 2 people in the world that weren't on Steam before. You found the 2. That actually would be a fun statistic to actually see, if Valve even has that statistic. How many new users, how many new Steam users joined on from the Steam Deck exclusively? That would be entertaining. Meanwhile, in other news, while Ubisoft is pondering what the heck it's going to do with its life, TSMC and Samsung both are looking at building new fabrication plants for their chips. All I can say is good luck. The main reason for this is that more and more of these chip manufacturers, they want to lessen their reliance on TSMC. Because unfortunately, as much as I don't want to talk about politics, one of the things that is looming very dangerously is the fear that China could invade Taiwan. TSMC is located in Taiwan. If TSMC is shut down for an extended period of time due to war, remember what happened last time we had a chip shortage? Yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really, really bad. So more and more people want to make sure they are not reliant on just TSMC. So all I can say is good luck, because Intel is having none of that. No good luck at all. Finally, one more story before we take our next break, possibly our last break, in fact. And that is involving a new California law. Don't worry about, no, don't worry. We're not ripping on California law. This is one of the few times where a California law doesn't seem like massive overreach or a bad idea, which I'm not going to lie, very rare nowadays. A new law from California forces digital storefronts to admit that in fact you are licensing the thing you are buying, not purchasing it and owning it. You know how on, well, back to Steam, in fact, you know how on Steam you're technically not buying a game? Technically, we kind of all know this in the back of our heads, we're leasing the game indefinitely, but there's still a clause in there that, you know, you could just lose the game entirely if something were to happen to the game and it entirely shuts down, that whole thing. But you thought you bought the game. At least now in the state of California, that is no longer the case. You have to admit that no, you are buying a license to play the game. This was all drummed up by, in fact, the game, what was it, Rust? I don't think it was Rust. The Crew. I know it was like some simple name. The Crew from Ubisoft was shut down, well, pretty shortly after its launch. And then everyone who bought a copy of the game is now just SOL forever. But they're like, we bought this game, we should be able to play it. And they're like, nope, no, you didn't. You leased it. I gotta say, as much as there's small petty nonsense that comes about in the laws of California and whatnot, this is a very rare, wonderful win, to which I say, huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. Will it catch on outside of the state of California? I hope so. I really, really do. But for now, all we can do, as much as I hate to keep saying it, wait and see. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about Meta. Oh yeah, Meta had their Meta Connect event, and there's not a whole lot they showed off, but the little bit they did show off, I want to talk about it and what it means for the VR space. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. Meta Connect is a thing that really happened this week, and I debated whether I should go ahead and make a breaking news episode, but the day that it happened, I had work I needed to get to, and quite frankly, here's the sad thing, all right? This is kind of big news, but for the most part, I can sum up Meta Connect 2024 into a handful of pretty much, like, I can sum it up in 2 minutes. All right, you can time it. All right, in 2 minutes, I can sum up everything you care about. There's a new Meta Quest 3S. It is cheaper and more affordable than the Meta Quest 3. It is going to start at a price that I cannot find because their page does not want to load it. It's going to start at $300. All right, you know, it's fine, good stuff. Spec wise, it's going to be pretty close to the Meta Quest 3, falling a little bit short in the display area for the most part, a little bit less in the processor, but not too bad. You know, good budget option for anyone who wants to get into the VR space and into Meta's forced ecosystem without getting in, without having to go ahead and spend a whole lot of money. Next up, there is also the Ray-Ban Meta Smart Glass. These are the things that's going to creep people out because they look like normal sunglasses, but they are able to go ahead and project things onto what you currently see through them. They are true AR glasses and blend in very well as regular glasses. These are significantly more expensive until I look it up and find out they're not. Hey, look, they actually aren't. I thought these ones are like $600. They start at around $300. They can go all the way up based on style to, it's looking like about $400 with a built-in camera, battery life of probably a few hours. And it's decent upgrades all around if you're already in the ecosystem. Here's the thing though, you have to get into the Meta ecosystem, which means you are pretty much going to be locked out entirely if you want to go ahead and explore things like Steam VR or any sort of other open source VR space. That's going to be the main thing, is the fact you're going to be locked into Facebook's ecosystem. And as we all know, Facebook is the pinnacle of privacy and keeping your data safe. I am, of course, joking. They absolutely are the worst people to give your information to. You might as well go and tell your deepest, darkest secrets to everyone on the street. There, was that under 2 minutes? I actually don't know. I did not time myself. But that is pretty much everything you need to know from Meta Connect. Here's the thing that really matters though. Here's my thoughts on it. Apple looks like blithering idiots compared to this. Like, it's easy to go ahead and compare the Meta Quests to your Valve Indexes or your other VR headsets that are open and you can go ahead and use with whatever. Here's the thing though. The people who are in the market for the Meta Quest are not the same people who are going to go ahead and buy a Valve Index. They are not the same people who are going to go ahead and buy an HTC Vive. The people who buy that sort of thing are tinkerers. They are the people who don't mind getting their hands dirty, set up their own ecosystem, and have full control of everything. The Meta Quest is attractive because it is truly a plug-and-play VR experience. It is a walled garden, but it is done in such a way that there is almost no setup required, at least on the software side of things. I'm sorry, but on the hardware side of things, you will have to move your coffee table that's in the middle of the room. I know you think it looks nice because the top folds up and becomes basically a giant TV tray for everyone on the couch. I'm sorry, you can't have it there and play VR. You are going to trip over it. You have to move it. I am not speaking about anybody in particular, and I'm especially not talking about my mother. Definitely not. Definitely not. But for the most part, I mean, this is what it is. All right. There's now a cheaper option. If you're curious about this kind of thing, you can get into it. I personally would not, but I also admit I am not the target market for this. My way of thinking is not, it's just not for this ecosystem. Because I am a tinkerer. I am not afraid of getting a screwdriver out and fixing my own PS4, which freaked out yesterday. I'm not afraid of going ahead, grabbing a used VR headset and trying to get it to work with modern stuff. I don't mind doing that sort of thing. But a lot of people would look at those same sort of things and say, you know what? I really have better things to do with my life than go out to a warehouse, get a VR headset that may or may not work with my current hardware. I'll just get one that is guaranteed to work. Or, oh, the PS4 is freaking out. Oh, it had a good run. I guess I'll use the PS5 on the regular. It's a different mindset. I would personally continue to encourage people to not use the Meta Quest because Meta is a privacy nightmare of a company. But I also have to acknowledge, to my knowledge right now, there is not a good alternative to VR that respects your privacy and is easy to set up. If you're looking for the plug and play setup that doesn't require a whole lot of technical know-how, right now you're either going to Meta and enjoy the fact that you have to sign up using Facebook, or you're going Apple and then enjoying the fact that you just spent $3,000 on a headset nobody wants. That's the unfortunate truth. And what do you think the average person's going to do? Spend $3,000 to $3,500 on an Apple Vision Pro or $300 on a Meta Quest 3S? The choice is kind of obvious when you phrase it like that, isn't it? So it is what it is. That's what they're looking at right now. But also, Meta also showed off more of their AI functionality to it. Not to the thing, just in general. They added more AI. What they're showing off is what they're calling their, what are they even calling it? I don't even know what they're calling this thing. But they have a new plan to generate synthetic content tailored to individuals. Yes, Meta is going to go ahead and generate ads out of whole cloth, out of nothing, out of thin air. Where did the term generate something out of whole cloth come from anyway? That doesn't make sense. Because like the phrase means to make something out of nothing. But whole cloth isn't nothing. It's cloth. It is something. I digress. Strange idioms aside, they want to go ahead and generate advertising, pictures, and contents out of nothing based on users' interests on Facebook. Is this the part where we talk again about dead internet theory? Dead internet theory, which is on the fast track to being the dead internet theorem, is the thought that eventually the entire internet that we use to communicate is going to be nothing but machines interacting with other machines infinitely forever. It is the thought that there are no real people on the internet. This whole thing was originally started off as kind of a cyberpunk dystopian sort of thought theorem, right? Or not even a thought theorem, a thought theory. Do I need to explain the difference between a theory and a theorem? A theory is something that you have a feeling about. A theorem is something you have evidence about. Is a very, 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 very rough way to describe it. But a theory is something you present and then look to prove it. A theorem is something you present, but you believe is based on, but you have evidence to support it already existing. People in chat are already saying I'm explaining it terribly, and I know I am. You ever have those moments where you're just like up on stage and it's just like words are coming out of your mouth and you know you're explaining it wrong? Zone in chat says a theory is a comprehensive explanation framework of understanding. A theorem is a mathematical proof. I'm starting to think I was taught wrong. In any case, dead internet theory. We just continue to just move further and further down the path with generative AI, where it is just bots feeding content to bots. And holy smokes, does it seem like Meta just wants to push us down further and further onto that path? And here's what I gotta ask then. How long until we just abandon Facebook? Like entirely? Like already there's good reasons to just not go on Facebook, to just not interact with this system of frickin' doom scrolling upon doom scrolling, with people being fed the same sort of dark nonsense that they've been fed for years upon years, and just reading hot garbage and misinformation and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's already been on a I'm now losing my words, on a decline as far as user base for a while now. And I gotta wonder, is the knowledge that a lot of the posts you're gonna get generated by robots that think they know you, is that gonna turn more people away from Facebook? Like on paper, it feels like the answer is yes, but I also feel like a lot of the people that would hate that idea already left Facebook. Long story short, though, it's just AI is becoming more and more of a hot mess. On the bright side, though, Cloudflare. Why does it feel like every time I say the word Cloudflare, it just feels like whatever I'm about to say is going to be the worst thing you ever heard? It's not even the case most of the time, but it just feels like every time you mention Cloudflare, it is just then, just afterwards, you just talk about just like the most strange, heinous thing being hidden to the world. It's not even the case. It just feels like it. Anyway, I digress. Cloudflare is actually doing something very, very helpful. Cloudflare is introducing a new feature that allows you to control what bots are accessing your content on the internet. Now, there's a lot of bots that patrol the internet. There are search bots that crawl the internet and look for websites to go ahead and feed to search engines. That's how search engines work, by the way. There are also bots that just go ahead and gather information to be curated into news compilation websites, that sort of thing. And then, of course, there is the newest controversy, AI farming robots that farm all the information they can on the internet to feed into generative AI. Cloudflare is going to provide tools to their customers that let them control exactly what kind of bots can access your content. So if you say, do want search bots, or do want search engine bots to find your stuff so that people can search for it, you can allow that. But if you don't want, as someone in the chat just called it, plagiarism bots to go ahead and farm your content for generative AI, you can go ahead and do so. Actually, for that fact, the news curation bots also are kind of in that same kind of bubble of quote unquote plagiarism bots. We just dislike the AI ones even more, because then they just regurgitate the same sort of thing but change enough so that it's even harder to credit the original writer. God, AI sucks. Why do we keep doing this to ourselves? Why do we keep willing to accept AI as a thing that exists? Anyway, I gotta say, huge, in my opinion, huge win for Cloudflare. I, for one, support this, and I hope that more and more also try to do things that are similar. However, because the allure of giving in to generative AI is so strong, I seriously doubt a lot of people are going to go ahead and offer these kind of services. So good on you, Cloudflare. Good on you. I got to applaud in this day and age of everyone supporting AI blindly. Anyone willing to shove back just a little bit, because otherwise, oh boy, do we just get more and more concerning things. Meanwhile, OpenAI has launched their new advanced voice functions to all Plus and Team viewers. Team users, not Team viewers. Ugh. Plus and Team users are now able to use the ChatGPT app using only voice commands. I can't wait to hear how this works. I'm not gonna lie. We'll have to wait and see how functional it works. However, right off the bat, it is not going to be available in the EU, UK, Switzerland, Iceland, Norway, and Liechtenstein. The reason being, as many people suspect, is the fact that the AI is able to interpret your emotion in how you're saying something and use that to correlate a response based on how you said something. And apparently that doing that with software is illegal in the EU, UK, Switzerland, Iceland, Norway, and Liechtenstein. Interesting. So here's the question. Does this mean that smart speakers, when they finally get this functionality in them, are they just going to go ahead and not be sold anywhere in Europe? Like, seriously, where in Europe can you sell these if, in fact, this kind of technology of detecting emotions in your voice for machine learning and whatnot is not available anywhere in the European Union, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Iceland, Norway, and Liechtenstein? What's left? It's kind of a wild thing to see this technology advance and then just have no concern about the fact that, yeah, it's not gonna be available to a lot of people. But, you know, AI is just gonna go ahead and do whatever they can for AI. Now, this story is one that is confusing to me, but we do need to talk about it because it is big. According to Reuters, OpenAI is looking to remove their nonprofit control and give Sam Altman equity. So OpenAI is made up of two companies. I can't remember their exact names off the top of my head, but one was a non-profit. The other is a for-profit. The non-profit is run by a board and has control over the for-profit side of things. The for-profit side of things is, I want to say, has Sam Altman pretty much at the head completely. When this is all said and done, the non-profit side will no longer control the for-profit side. And in fact, it kind of sounds like when this change is all done, the non-profit side might as well just not exist. And I kind of wonder what the majority of people who looked at OpenAI and said, I trust them, are going to think about that. Because one of the biggest arguments that OpenAI had going for it was, we're going to go ahead and use our technology responsibly. We're led by a non-profit company. We're in it just to advance technology, not for the profit. Now, the profit side of things will have full autonomy. So where's your self-check? Where's the side of you making sure that you're staying ethical in all this? Or is this just an admission now that, as many critics have suspected, there are no more ethics, and OpenAI is just going to do whatever OpenAI wants, as long as it means more money for OpenAI? And I fully admit, I don't know, but this does raise major concern. Now, by the way, before anyone says it, because I've seen this argument quite a bit, people have been saying this story is fake because you can't turn a non-profit into a for-profit company. That's not what's happening. OpenAI always was made up of a non-profit and a for-profit. It looks like, at least from what I understand so far, the for-profit side is going to be broken off from the non-profit side. And it just sounds like the non-profit side is just going to float away. Well, all we can do, wait and see how it goes. But I'm not going to lie, it's very concerning considering the fact that Sam Altman already tried to go ahead and raise trillions of dollars for chip manufacturing to feed OpenAI, which, not going to lie, still a crazy statement. Wanting the net worth of several countries, several small countries to go ahead and just be used for chip manufacturing. Because that sounds sustainable on paper, to power this massive AI that hallucinates and freaks out. I don't want to be the voice of doom and gloom, but holy cow, it is hard for me not to be when I see all this kind of insanity. I need some kind of story that makes me feel better. I need some kind of story of just something crazy that is not going to cause the end of everything. Ooh, how about an open source mouse? We have a new open source mouse that you can 3D print. It is, in fact, I'm not going to lie, it looks like a nightmare. It does look like an actual nightmare. The actual mouse is called the... Do I have this right? It's called the Payat Design B. It's an odd little mouse. But first off, the sucker it's made from all 3D parts. There are scans of this thing out there, so you can go ahead and print your own. You just need the mouse sensors, the base kit, and everything. But I'll tell you what, this is not the mouse for people with trypophobia, the fear of many small holes. Although maybe it won't trip it, because it seems like a lot of people with trypophobia, it's more of unorganized organic holes. But at the same time, I don't have it, but looking at this mouse makes me feel uncomfortable, so maybe it's going to trip it regardless. Either way, analyzing phobias aside, this thing does look like a nightmare. Like, I use my mouse very, very often, and I do have to clean my mouse very, very often. I cannot imagine how well this mouse is going to function with all kinds of hand shmoo creviced in all little holes. But this seems to be like the new thing for mice, to have this like vented kind of look to it to minimize the amount of weight. Look, the concept that you can assemble your own mouse, have it fit to your hand perfectly, and can 3D print it if you have a 3D printer, all very interesting concepts. It's very useful. I would be terrified to see what this mouse looks like after a year. It's gonna be something. That much is for certain. And finally, I bring you the last bird, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you a brand new Panasonic display. You might be thinking though, why, Eagle? Why is a display the weirdest story of the week? Well, you see, this display is no ordinary display because the display is literally vaporware. The display is literally powered by a projector projecting into a mist to have everything show in midair as though it were a hologram. I'm not gonna lie. This is the most impractical thing I have seen in a while. But you know what? I'm not gonna lie, this is a cool tech demo. This is a very cool demonstration for a tech floor or for any kind of like convention booth sort of thing. Like, this is definitely gonna grab attention and grab, like, wouldn't you want to go over if you're just going to like a trade show and you see the person who has letters floating in midair? Like, this is definitely going to be a very good tool to go ahead and grab attention for sure. Someone in chat asked, can it run Doom? I would assume yes, it can run Doom. Probably not a very good frame rate, and at least until you run out of whatever fluid it's using. I would hope that this thing is just using water droplets. Let's see here. Samsung calls it the silky fine mist and uses a nozzle, a combination of pressurized water and compressed air to spray a mist so fine, about 6 to 10 microns, that it doesn't feel wet to the touch. I know the perfect market for this. This is absolutely perfect for trade shows in Vegas. Because here's something you have to consider, right? It's just a water mist. So either the air is going to get so humid that the mist won't form right, and eventually if you run it too long, it's just going to get more and more humid. So if you use it in an already dry environment, it can just keep on going until you run out of water. Maybe I'm overthinking this. But of course, while I think of crazy things to use it for, Panasonic already says that it's being used for train stations and public facilities nationwide since 2019. And now it is making now it's looking to try and push this technology across the various ponds. To which I say, interesting. Very, very interesting. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening, and I do encourage you to check out my other works, twitch.tv/EagleFalcon and youtube.com/EagleFalcon. Take care, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Now here's the thing, right? Like, so far it's been used for you know, the public good to go ahead and show in a unique way that is attractive, you know, publicly useful information for public transit, for important messages, you know, all those sort of things. But now that's going to be out for the public, here's what I gotta ask. How long until it's used for porn? That's the real question we all have to ask. How long until the missed projection image is used for something that is very not safe for work? And as someone kind of mentioned in the chat, is the amount of time we have to wait actually a negative number? Has it already actually happened? You know, only time will tell. In the meantime, yeah, I actually don't have anything. I should look to see how much a missed projector is.